Chapter 1232. The few students beside her nodded their heads in agreement. Digging out Xuanhuan Lu Li's profound heart jade in front of so many people. Boss, your reputation. A devil-class student howled. Under xianxia's intentional embellishment, Yiqing Luo had already become a vicious and merciless, overbearing and vicious woman. Now Yiqing Luo dug out Xuanhuan Lu Li's profound heart jade in front of everyone and directly blasted it into dregs. This totally proved xianxia's words. Probably, in the eyes of the surrounding crowd, Yiqing Luo had completely become a great demoness who killed without batting an eyelid. Yiqing Luo's slender brows rose as she disapprovingly shot a glance at the group of youngsters behind her. I did it on purpose. Ha! The students' footsteps halted as they looked at Yiqing Luo in astonishment. They were unable to understand the meaning in her words. Yiqing Luo also stopped in her tracks as she turned around and looked at this bunch of young students as she laughed lightly. Gentle and virtuous, #1 beauty, #1 genius and such reputation, I have no interest in it and it's not suitable for me. What I need is a position which no one dares to easily shake. So what if you're a great demoness? Now, those people who dares to talk about devil class just because of a disagreement. Demoness, that was a title which made people afraid. Why couldn't she be a demoness? Yiqing Luo didn't want devil class to become like the class of gods, to be praised by everyone and be high up. The young lads and young ladies had not completely matured yet. Once they had a taste of that which made others envious, it would easily lead to a change in their mentality to enjoy this taste, to be greedy for this taste. Rather than this, why not let devil class become a class which everyone feared? Because of fear, those people would also think of ways to destroy these students at the same time of fear. And if devil class's students didn't want to be destroyed by others, then they must work hard to make themselves stronger, to make themselves even more fearful. King Ling's tomb. She didn't bother to conceal. Exposing Blue Dragon, Chi-Chi and God Relic in front of everyone. And making use of 3,000 peach blossoms to spread this matter. It was to lay down the foundation for the World Mercenary Group. It was to let everyone know that the World Group's ability was not something which they could imagine. But today she dug out Xuanhuan Lu Li's profound heart jade in front of everyone. It was also to prove in front of everyone that she, Yiqing Luo, would do what she said. If she wanted to go against the devil class, her methods were not limited to these. If you're not convinced, give it a try? How would the onlookers dare to try? Who didn't know that Yiqing Luo had various divine dragon sacred beast god relic on her? Hence, everyone felt a sense of shock towards the devil class. Those voices that were nagging about how the devil class was a useless class, gradually disappeared. This was the effect that Yiqing Luo wanted. Qing Luo's decision naturally has her reasons. Everyone go back to the dormitory and have a good rest, there's a tough battle tomorrow. Xiao Jin's peripheral vision saw a white figure walking over and he immediately waved his hand, separating the students from Yiqing Luo. Saying that, he pushed Yiqing Luo towards a certain direction. Tomorrow's match, Before Yiqing Luo could finish her words because of that push from Xiao Jin, she lost her balance and her body suddenly fell backwards. Yiqing Luo exerted a little strength on her waist and was just about to flip over and get up. An arm wrapped around her waist. An electric current like numbness instantly made Yiqing Luo lose all her energy. Chapter 1233. It's only been a day and Lil Luo already misses me so much? A low, husky, magnetic voice, with a hint of ridicule, rang softly in her ears. A rich familiar sandalwood scent enveloped her entirely. In that voice, Yiqing Luo's petite body was like a puddle of water, leaning softly in his arms. Since the beauty has taken the initiative to throw herself into my arms, how can this lord reject? His words had just ended when Yiqing Luo's legs left the ground. Her entire body was brought into his warm embrace. Yiqing Luo was so shocked that she immediately stretched out her hand and circled around his neck. What are you doing? He was wearing revered Mo's face. In public, to do such an action would attract criticism. Mo Xian's thin lips curled up slightly as his chest heaved up and down. A low laughter came from his throat, which was filled with charm. Yiqing Luo struggled a little as she turned her head to look at the surroundings. But she discovered that the devil class's students had very tacitly surrounded them in layers. As far as she could see, it was filled with students dressed in red class uniforms. Her suspended heart finally calmed down. So afraid of being discovered? Mo Xian lowered his head. Warm thin lips were pressed against her earlobe. A scorching hot breath sprayed onto her skin. Yiqing Luo's petite body trembled as she hurriedly turned her head, trying to struggle. but her head was held in place by Dmo Xian's large palm. His lips were still touching her ear. Lil Luo is so excited, don't tell me? Lil Luo like such an exciting method of secret love? Yiqing Luo flew into a rage out of humiliation as her cheeks flushed red. She raised her fist and punched fiercely towards Dmo Xian's chest as she clenched her teeth and spat. You're talking rubbish? Who likes secret love? Who likes excitement? Let me down. Not letting go. Dmo Xian shamelessly tightened his grip as his deep eyes contained a smile which seemed to be able to melt an iceberg, unless you struggle free yourself. Yiqing Luo directly chose to give up resisting. What a joke. Her strength was not comparable to Dmo Xian, all right. Furthermore, whatever she wanted to do, Dmo Xian would know what she was going to do next. Trying to struggle free from his embrace? Hee. This was impossible even in a dream. Nestled in Dmo Xian's arms under the escort of a group of students, the group left Westlawn Square and went straight back to the dormitory. The controversial person left. The next person to be debated was naturally the main character of the farce just now. For example, xianxia. For example, Xuanhuan Lioli had her profound heart jade dug out, and because she had lost too much blood, her entire face was deathly pale, and she looked extremely like a malicious spirit. She lay on the ground, her heart filled with resentment. But Xuanhuan Lioli was clear. Their defeat in the interclass competition. She no longer had the chance to take revenge. Because Yiqing Luo had exposed her collaboration with the dark forces in public, the Xuanhuan family deliberately led the crowd to suspect that the Xuanhuan family had also joined the dark forces. As a result, the current Xuanhuan family had already been forcibly removed from the four great families. He didn't have the honor of being one of the four great families. The Xuanhuan clan were nothing. The enemies who had once humiliated and oppressed him were now all knocking on his door. Her father had long been fed up with her. If it wasn't for the fact that she still had some value. Perhaps her father had already killed her to vent his anger. Xuanhuan Lioli painfully shut her eyes as she kept hating Yiqing Luo in her heart. Chapter 1234. Xianxia stared at the direction where Yiqing Luo had left, deep in thought. Suddenly hearing guard Xuanhuan's words, she regained her senses and glanced at him indifferently. No need to thank me. Saying that, she hid the deep meaning in her eyes and turned around to leave. She frowned slightly as her beautiful eyes congealed. What she saw earlier. Was it an illusion? Master Mo actually hugged Yiqing Luo in his arms? And in that kind of intimate and ambiguous position, hugging Yiqing Luo? Wasn't it said that Yiqing Luo was the lady whom the overlord had taken a fancy to? Why was Yiqing Luo so intimate with Master Mo? That kind of hugging posture, it was definitely not just a relationship between a master and his student. Suddenly, Xianxia recalled yesterday when she got someone to inquire about Yiqing Luo's news, what that person told her. Master Mo had directly chosen to teach devil class the moment he came back from the main courtyard. Apparently. Especially when to look for Yiqing Luo. There was definitely something between Master Mo and Yiqing Luo. Night. In a small mountain village not far from the West Square. The surroundings were desolate, without any signs of human presence. The air was filled with the stench of fresh blood. In one of the thatched huts, the candlelight elongated the two entangled figures in the room. Indistinctly there was an ambiguous panting sound that made one blush. The night was as cold as water. A slender figure stepped on the moonlight as she sped over. Just as she neared the thatched hut, her footsteps suddenly halted. The sound in the hut was extremely loud as the wooden planks were rattling. The ambiguous voice pierced her cold and elegant face, making it seem even paler. Cough. The lady's face was pale, suppressing the anger in her chest as she coughed. The sound in the hut paused and became even more intense. Totally not restrained because of the lady's arrival. Ah, a xiong. Holy technique. Outside. The fragmented voice was filled with a man's coquettish charm. But because of the ferocious treatment, there was no way to complete a sentence. The candlelight swayed, the wooden planks in the silent night were exceptionally loud. The lady outside could not bear it any longer, as she lifted her leg and directly kicked open that tottering door. The lady clutched her chest as she staggered into the hut. The two entangled in the hut, as though they were not affected by her, as they continued to tangle. Then, he saw that the woman's face was pale and she looked like she was heavily injured. Only then did the two of them react. Xianxia tore off his clothes and casually covered the man under him. Then he stood up and walked towards the woman. What's wrong with you? Why do you look so pathetic? The woman pushed away Xianxingfa's hand in disgust and stumbled against the wooden table. He seemed to have stepped on something. She looked down and saw a corpse that had been cut in half. Judging from his attire, he was obviously the owner of this thatched cottage. She frowned and kicked the half of the corpse away. You guys can even afford to play in this kind of place. Your taste is really heavy. Xianxia looked back at Si Yenmu, who was dressed neatly, and laughed out loud. As long as Mu is here, I can be interested in any place. Si Yenmu draped the long robe embroidered with an elephant pattern on Xianxingfa's body. When he heard this, his gentle jade-like face immediately turned red. Xiang, you are teasing me again. Xianxingfa's eyes darkened, as if he wanted to hold Si Yenmu in his arms again and have a good time with him. Both of you, enough is enough. The woman impatiently patted the table. This slap caused her chest to ache incessantly. Chapter 1235. What? Elephant Xingfa's expression darkened. He glared at the woman in front of him and said, Didn't you say that there would be no problem if you were to go? That lady's face was pale, a pair of ruthless eyes shot out intense hatred. This saint has belittled Yiqing Luo, that little slut, allowing her to take advantage of the loophole. Lord Saint technique. Devil class obtained the leader position? Si Yenmu's expression changed slightly as he asked anxiously. The woman acted as if someone had touched her bad luck. She grabbed the things on the table and threw them at Si Yenmu's face. Why didn't you tell me earlier about that little slut's ability to poison? Si Yenmu did not dare to dodge. A big palm blocked in front of Si Yenmu. Xianxingfa caught the thing that was thrown over and said calmly, That's enough, die. You can be angry, but if you hurt Mumu's face, don't blame me for falling out with you. The woman was so angry that she snorted and turned her head away. Si Yenmu clenched the clothes of the elephant holy technique and looked at the woman lying in the haystack not far away. If the task fails, then what will happen to Lu Shuiyu? What? Do you feel sorry for her? The woman turned her head and sneered. Her line of sight followed Si Yenmu's line of sight and looked at the woman in the haystack. Their faces were exactly the same. Even if one looked closely, it was impossible to tell which one was the real Lu Shuiyu. He was right. The woman conversing with the sacred art of elephant was one of the 4 sacred arts that had disguised herself as Lu Shuiyu to participate in the interclass competition, the sacred art of butterfly. How could that be? Si Yenmu anxiously looked at Xianxingfa for fear that he would misunderstand. I hate her more than enough, how could I feel sorry for her, but Lu Shuiyu is still of use to us. There won't be any left soon. The sacred butterfly technique sneered and looked away. You guys better think about how you're going to explain this to the Lord. At the mention of their Lord, their expressions suddenly became extremely solemn. Recently, the Imperial Palace had been harassing the Dark Coalition with the excuse of being attacked by the Dark Coalition. Moreover, because of Yiqing Luo, the number of cultivators' souls which he had absorbed recently was getting lesser and lesser. At this moment, if they brought the news of their failed mission back to the Dark Forces, would the Lord directly tear their hands into pieces? Since when have I ever suffered such humiliation? Yiqing Luo, that little slut. I will play her to death sooner or later. Saint Butterfly clenched her teeth and covered her chest. That's right, that little bitch knows how to poison people and she's pretty good at it. If you guys have any other plans, you'd better be prepared. In the dormitory, the students who were smiling ambiguously were chased back to their rooms. Yiqing Luo took a look at the man behind her. Aren't you going to settle the Imperial Palace's matters? Why did he make it look like Supreme Mo? Where's Feng? I missed you. Dmo Xian wrapped his arms around her waist from behind and rubbed against her delicate shoulders. Feng is hiding in the dark. If you want to order him around, you can call him anytime. Yiqing Luo was tickled by his actions as she giggled. Dmo Xian's slender fingers brushed past the strands of hair on her forehead. You don't have to worry about the Imperial Palace, just concentrate on the competition. Yiqing Luo knitted her brows. She knew that based on her current ability, even if something happened to the Imperial Palace, she wouldn't be of any help at all. But this feeling of being isolated was something she didn't like at all. Just as she was about to open her mouth, Dmo Xian's finger pressed against her pink lips. Chapter 1236. Yiqing Luo pursed her lips lightly. A pair of enchanting eyes fixed on Dmo Xian. He didn't want her to get involved in the matters of the Imperial Palace, so he deliberately changed the topic. Could it be, was she really that weak in his eyes? As if he had seen through Yiqing Luo's thoughts, Dmo Xian withdrew his hand and heaved a long sigh. In the next instant, his long arms exerted strength and pulled her into his embrace. Lil Luo, what nonsense are you thinking about? Dmo Xian's large palm covered the back of Yiqing Luo's head, as he hugged her tightly in his arms. Yiqing Luo's eyelashes fluttered slightly as she slowly raised her eyes. Even though she had seen that peerless face countless times, it still made her heart palpitate. From this angle, she could clearly see the helplessness hidden in Dmo Xian's eyes. When those deep peach blossom eyes looked at her, it was as if they carried all the gentleness and love in the world. I didn't want to tell you just to make you feel at ease. Dmo Xian's slender fingers brushed past her brows. The Imperial Palace's harassment towards the dark forces had a certain effect. Not only did it create pressure for the dark forces, you should be able to have some peace these few days. Yiqing Luo blinked her eyes as she immediately digested Dmo Xian's words. As it turned out, Dmo Xian would take the opportunity of the Wolf Saint Technique's attack to completely control the public opinion. Then he openly sent out the Imperial Palace's disciples to fight and harass the dark forces several times. He said that he wanted to destroy the Wolf Saint's forces. However, he had never used his true strength. He had only used simple harassment. Was it all for her? Yiqing Luo's arms hugged his waist tightly as her brows rose up. All right, it's my fault for letting my imagination run wild, but you can't hide everything from me. Little Luo, you can't hide it from me. Her lower jaw was abruptly lifted by Dmo Xian's slender fingers. In Yiqing Luo's pupils, that face which made her heart fluttered was magnified infinitely. A warm and domineering kiss landed on her lips. That force was extremely ferocious, and in just a moment, it had completely swallowed Yiqing Luo. The kiss became increasingly sorrowful and ambiguous. It was as though he wanted to merge Yiqing Luo into his blood and bones. Yiqing Luo's face was flushed red, her petite body had no strength at all. She wanted to struggle and breathe, but the man's grip on her tightened. Little Luo, Dmo Xian's hoarse voice softly called out her name. Dmo Xian's large palm was tightly wrapped around her waist belt. His body was burning hot and taut. A single kiss was enough to make him unable to restrain himself. He wanted Lil Luo, when he had actually become so desperate for Lil Luo, Cough. Dizun expressed that the man was so hungry that he was only thinking about how to make love to his little Luo heir. Xian. No, you can't. Yiqing Luo blushed, deeply feeling the changes in the man's body. She blushed, her hands clutching the front of his shirt tightly. Lil Luo, do you really have the heart to pay for the rest of your life's fortune? Dmo Xian suppressed his voice as it was filled with a thick desire. He held the little woman's hand and reached out. Are you sure I can stop now? Yiqing Luo was so shocked that she hurriedly slapped Dmo Xian's hand away, as her face turned even redder. Pervert! Dmo Xian's half-squinted peach blossom eyes, as rippling lights shone down resplendent luster. He bent over and kissed her earlobe as his hoarse voice became even more sexy. I'm only perverted towards you. Chapter 1237. Yiqing Luo cried out in shock as her body was placed on the soft bed. A head of fine black hair scattered over the head of the bed, like a blooming flower, gorgeous beyond compare. Her little face blushed red as her little hand propped against his chest. Xian. Stop first, listen to me. His lips came down on hers, fiercely kissing her lips, stopping her from rejecting him. Yiqing Luo struggled even more, her pair of charming eyes were stained with a layer of mist because of his kiss. Her charming eyes were like silk, exceptionally enchanting. Dmo Xian's thick palm with a thin layer of callus, caressed Yiqing Luo's body. Yiqing Luo panted even more violently. He half-propped himself up as he gazed at the crimson-cheeked, seductive young lady below him. An indescribable feeling surged from his lower abdomen. The fire in his eyes, with a whoosh, burned extremely vigorously. Xian. Yiqing Luo saw him finally stopping, as she immediately called out Dmo Xian's name. Because of the suffocating kiss, she was panting heavily. This coquettish call was accompanied by light panting, as though it was a seductive moan. When Yiqing Luo's gaze faced towards Dmo Xian, attempting to make him calm down, her entire person was instantly stunned. Her petite body also froze. His gaze, scorching and boiling hot. It was like a burning fire staring at her with a scorching gaze, as though he wanted to swallow her into his abdomen. Under this fiery gaze, Yiqing Luo only felt that her body seemed to be on fire. Lil Luo, trying to escape? Sensing the stiff young lady in his arms, Dmo Xian bent down, as he laughed softly beside her ear. What responded to him was increasingly heavy and urgent panting. Dmo Xian's smile became even more unbridled. In future? Dare to let your imagination run wild? Yiqing Luo shook her head like a rattled drum. Her charming eyes stared straight at Dmo Xian, as a sliver of tears, as her long curly eyelashes fluttered. As though she was telling Dmo Xian, look at me, I'm the most sincere, I will definitely not let my imagination run wild. That adorable look made Dmo Xian's pupils contracted continuously. The fire was burning more and more violently. Since you know you're in the wrong, don't reject me. Dmo Xian locked her hands behind her back and used one hand to undo Yiqing Luo's clothes. Using his magnetic and hoarse voice, he continued, Lil Luo, when I see you, I want to kiss you, I want to hold you in my arms, I want to do what I'm doing to you now. You. Yiqing Luo was so embarrassed that she didn't know what to say to refute. She had always known that men thought with their lower bodies. But he didn't know that even Dmo Xian was the same. She still had a competition tomorrow. Now, let Dmo Xian eat everything clean. Yiqing Luo expressed that based on Dmo Xian's current hungry look, she would absolutely not have the strength to stand up tomorrow. Furthermore, what's more, right now, Yiqing Luo's eyes were moist as she wriggled her body, trying to break free from his hand to stop Dmo Xian. Ah Xian, I really know I'm in the wrong, I promise I won't let my imagination run wild, don't. The man's hand had already ripped off her clothes. A scorching hot breath sprayed on her body. After that, his fingers unbuttoned Yiqing Luo's skirt. Just as he was about to probe in, suddenly, his expression congealed. Following that, his body stiffened. He was completely stunned. That taut body, muscles tight and firm as his gaze turned even more profound. That. Yiqing Luo coughed lightly, looking at the man's sunken face. She inexplicably felt that it was rather funny. Chapter 1238. Dmo Xian's face sunk as he clenched his teeth and straightened Yiqing Luo's messy clothes. He flipped over and sat on the bed. That warm warmth suddenly dissipated as Yiqing Luo blushed as she sat up and fastened her clothes properly. Her peripheral vision glanced towards Dmo Xian's direction from time to time. Both of them didn't say a word to break the awkward silence. It was until Yiqing Luo had completely put on her clothes and tied them up, that little body nudged towards Dmo Xian's side. That. Yiqing Luo obviously felt. The minute she moved, Dmo Xian's body instantly tensed up. His yearning had not completely disappeared. The corners of Yiqing Luo's eyes suddenly curved into a long and narrow arc, as her eyes sparkled with a crafty luster. Ah Xian. Her voice turned tender as Yiqing Luo's petite body directly covered Dmo Xian's back as her two little hands hugged his waist tightly. At such a close distance, she indeed felt the man's body tensed up and stiff. Vaguely, she could still hear Dmo Xian's heavy panting. Lil Luo, Dmo Xian swallowed his saliva as he suppressed the fire that was stirred up by this little lady. He raised his voice and his voice was extremely tensed. However, Yiqing Luo didn't seem to hear the suppressed feelings in his words as she rubbed her petite body against his back. I've already reminded you but you didn't listen and now you're still fierce to me. After saying this sentence, Yiqing Luo herself started to have goosebumps. But, in order to see Dmo Xian losing control, she endured it. Her words had just ended when Yiqing Luo's body felt light as she fell onto the bed. The man's boiling hot chest pressed down on her. Dmo Xian's fingers clasped her lower jaw as he stared fiercely at Yiqing Luo with his bloodshot eyes. Lil Luo, do you really think I don't dare to touch you? At this moment, Yiqing Luo wasn't flustered like before. Instead, she giggled happily as her arms automatically wrapped around his neck as she whispered into his ear, I'm just relying on the fact that you don't dare to touch me. Her curved eyes were filled with a crafty smile. Dmo Xian's arm, which was propped up by her side, clenched tightly into a fist. That peerless face was drenched in cold sweat. His taut expression was extremely terrifying. Staring at Yiqing Luo's smiling eyes, Dmo Xian took a deep breath as he flipped over from Yiqing Luo's body with a gloomy face. Yes, he could not touch her. It wasn't that he didn't dare to, but that he couldn't bear to. Looking at Dmo Xian's suppressed expression, Yiqing Luo was in a good mood. Actually, if her body was able to sleep with Dmo Xian, and since she didn't have to compete tomorrow, she might have given in after her reluctance earlier. But, it could only be said that Dmo Xian's timing and date were not right. Who knew that today was coincidentally the day her kuei water arrived? Cuff. That's right, it was the legendary great aunt visiting. In ancient times, there were no sanitary napkins like in modern times. Yiqing Luo had always used soft silk cloth to make menstrual pads. Previously, when she was training the students in the academy, DMO Xian had sneaked into her room several times to help her wash her clothes and had seen her improved sanitary pads. Hence, earlier when DMO Xian touched it, he knew what it was. DMO Xian's heart almost collapsed. Now he really wanted to rush out and raze the West Lawn public square to the ground. Calling for a stop at the last minute was fine. Lil Luo, this little vixen, knew that he couldn't bear to do her at this moment. Chapter 1239. If it was during normal times, DMO Xian would absolutely be excited and enjoy Lil Luo's initiative. But now it was pain and happiness. The famished him had long thought of pouncing on Yiqing Luo from all angles without any blind spots. A call to stop midway and he was still working on it. The little demoness was still stirring up the fire without any restraint. Provoke him? Provoking him? Yiqing Luo's long eyelashes fluttered as she blinked her charming eyes. After she crawled up from the bed, she was like a little kitten as she snuggled into DMO Xian's embrace. Her small hands circled around his waist again. The soft Xiao's body was pressed tightly against DMO Xian's taut body. Yes, she was provoking DMO Xian. Just by relying on DMO Xian's unwillingness to part with her, xuanhuan in every possible way. She smiled seductively and leaned in his arms, looking up at the man's gloomy face. Don't pull a long face. Saying that, he stretched out his hand to touch DMO Xian's face. Before it could even touch him, it was caught by DMO Xian's huge palm. He lowered his eyes and with a burning gaze, he stuck it onto Yiqing Luo's body as his gaze burned. Lil Luo, don't be complacent. In a few days' time, I will make you cry and beg for mercy. DMO Xian's long arm wrapped tightly around her slender waist. With a sudden burst of strength, he ruthlessly pressed her down onto his scorching lower abdomen. Yiqing Luo's originally flirtatious eyes, intentionally provoking DMO Xian's little face, instantly turned red as she cried out in shock from DMO Xian's actions. Hearing Yiqing Luo's panicked screams, DMO Xian raised his eyebrows in satisfaction as he glanced sideways at Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo's face and ears were flushed red as she laid in his arms. Her mouth couldn't stop muttering that DMO Xian was a beast, a huge beast who had lost his mind. The little woman finally calmed down. DMO Xian heaved a sigh of relief. His self-control after meeting Yiqing Luo was totally out of control. If Lil Luo continued to make a fuss, he couldn't guarantee that he wouldn't go berserk and directly do Yiqing Luo. Wrapping his arms tightly around Yiqing Luo's slender waist, DMO Xian diverted the topic. Are you planning to go up alone for the challenge tomorrow? Yiqing Luo buried herself in his chest and responded in a low voice, N. According to the rules of challenging the overseer, this was the case. In the first 3 rounds of the competition, the students of the class that won the championship could directly gang up on the leader of the class and beat him up. All he had to do was eliminate the overseer. The final winner of this competition would be the class that won first place. The last batch of students from the devil class were the entire class, all of them remaining till the last round. Hence, in tomorrow's challenge, according to the rules, all 62 students of devil class would challenge xianxia alone at the same time. This was the rule set from the very beginning. It wasn't that Yiqing Luo was afraid of others gossiping, but she wanted to challenge xianxia alone. On the contrary, she wanted to gang up on xianxia and end this competition as quickly as possible. But tomorrow she could only challenge it alone. Before the competition, the students of devil class were attacked by the dark forces, causing them to suffer heavy losses. It was the medicinal pills which DMO Xian had sent over from the Imperial Palace which allowed the students of devil class to hang on till now. If they continued to forcefully hang on, the students' bodies would not be able to take it. That medicinal pill was able to speedily heal the injuries on the body. But the side effects of the medicinal pill was too painful. Tomorrow was the final duration of the medicinal effect. Chapter 1240. Yiqing Luo had already discussed with Old Man Guiyu, Yifengyu and Peach. Tonight they would evacuate all the devil class students from the academy and return to the World Mercenary Group's old mansion to recuperate. Old Man Guiyu and the rest would be in charge of guarding and taking care of them. After DMO Xian heard Yiqing Luo's plan, his large palm caressed her hair as he spoke in a warm voice. You don't have to worry about the dark forces. They are currently in a terrible mess because of the Imperial Palace. Furthermore, the plan to stop you from getting first place has already failed. I'm afraid they can't even protect themselves, so they don't have the time or mood to find trouble with you. Yiqing Luo shrunk into his arms as she responded with a soft But just in case, I'll send some Imperial Palace's disciples to stand guard outside the old mansion. You just have to concentrate on the competition. Dmo Xian's slender fingers had already followed her fine black hair, brushing past her pink lips. Yiqing Luo opened her mouth and bit his fingers as she gave a vague smile. With Xian around, I'm very assured. Dmo Xian's eyes turned gloomy. The moist and soft touch, because of their conversation, the soft feeling of her lips brushing past his fingers, made the feelings which he had suppressed with great difficulty to swell up. He squinted his long peach blossom eyes as his fingers fiercely rubbed her lips. His tone was evil. In a few days I'll see how you cry and beg me for mercy. That ferocious look made Yiqing Luo laugh happily. She laughed so hard in Dmo Xian's arms that her body kept shaking as she stretched out her hand and pinched his waist fiercely. I'll be waiting. As the two of them were laughing and fooling around, they didn't notice anything. A jade-green figure stood in the dark corner of the room. A ray of white light which was visible to the naked eye enveloped that figure. This person was Feng Ling. She stood in the dark corner as her eyes stared venomously at that tightly shut door. Her ears kept ringing with those blushing voices which she had heard earlier. She could even imagine in her mind those shameful things which they were doing in the room. The more she thought, the more painful her heart became. Her fingers trembled as they tightened one by one, curling up one by one. The next day, the curtains of the last round of competition began. After a few days of competition, the excitement of the representatives of the various forces had long since dissipated. In particular, when the final results of the class that won the championship yesterday came out, more than 2,000 people lost a lot of gold. Today the entire square seemed to be extremely depressed, and there wasn't the slightest bit of excitement from a few days ago. Although xianxia from the class of gods was competing with the 62 students from the class of devils. Adding on Yiqing Luo, who could even completely oppress an earth-profound 9th grade cultivator. This match was definitely going to be exciting. But the onlookers were still uninterested. No matter how big the world was, it was not as big as the money they had lost. Who would have thought that the devil class that was known as the trash class, the class that gathered a bunch of weak and useless trash, would become a black horse that successfully broke through the encirclement? In this strange atmosphere, the atmosphere was very strange. The representatives of the Heavenly Academy stepped into the venue. However, the principal was nowhere to be seen. Xuanhuan walked at the front with a few elders following behind him. The 4 elders of the headquarters also entered from the other side. Only then did the atmosphere become more lively. After the opening speech, Xuanhuan succinctly explained the rules for today and immediately let Xianxia and the devil class go on stage. Xianxia was still dressed in an elegant white long dress today, her face like a green lotus, pure and moving. Her red lips curled up slightly, dazzling the eyes. Chapter 1241. Where are the devil class's students? It seems like I haven't seen any devil class students today. It's already time for the competition. Why haven't I seen a single person? The students from the other classes all looked towards the devil class's waiting area. These few days, the devil class students would rush to the waiting area an hour before the competition. The competition had already begun, but not a single person could be seen. Speaking of which, in the dormitory they didn't see any devil class students today. Could it be that the devil class students have all run away? A student hesitantly raised his own guess. Immediately, another student hammered his head. The challenge competition is for the devil class's 62 students to challenge student Xianxia alone, and there's still Yiqing Luo. How could they have run away? Other than running away, I really can't think of any other reason that would cause all the devil class students to not come to the scene. With that said, everyone went silent. The crowd also focused their attention on the arena from the pain of losing a large amount of money. Are the devil class students here? Xuanhuan saw the surrounding discussion getting louder and louder. He frowned and raised his voice to ask. His gaze sharply swept across the surroundings. The crowd looked left and right but didn't see any devil class students. Xuanhuan's brows knitted even tighter. The champion class's challenge to the overseer is about to begin. If the devil class students are not here, it will be considered as the devil class has forfeited. The overseer Xianxia's class will become the champion class of this year's interclass competition. The entire square fell into silence. Xuanhuan continued. According to the interclass competition rules, if the devil class students have not come up to the stage to accept the challenge, it will be considered as the devil class has forfeited. 3. When the countdown began, the crowd started to whisper to each other. Don't tell me the devil class really ran away? That's very possible. The devil class students are a bunch of trash. Only Yi Ching Luo can do it. This time the challenge competition is against the students from the class of gods. I guess Yi Ching Luo doesn't have that confidence, so she brought her classmates and ran away. I was wondering why they agreed so readily yesterday, and there wasn't a single bit of surprise or fear. It seems like they had already thought of an escape route. 2. Cloud raised his voice and shouted out the second number. Only then did the surrounding people quiet down a little. Cloud narrowed his eyes and looked around, but he couldn't find anyone familiar. He hesitated for a moment, but under Yun Xiang's urging gaze, he slowly opened his mouth. At that moment, a red figure suddenly descended from the sky. Cloud only felt a gust of wind blowing his white hair into a mess. He saw Yi Ching Luo standing steadily in front of xianxia. Her red dress fluttered in the wind like a blooming rose, absolutely stunning. Her black hair was not tied up and scattered over her shoulders. Since he had rushed over, his hair was messy, but it was not impolite. The Yi Ching Luo with her hair scattered over her shoulders had a charm that was different from the past. Amidst the charm, there was a trace of pure and holy aura. In an instant, the crowd's gaze shifted from xianxia to Yi Ching Luo. Chapter 1242. This was the voice of countless people. Two completely different types of beauties. They were two beauties with completely different temperaments and clothes. At this moment, Yi Ching Luo had completely outshone xianxia. The crowd all felt that Yi Ching Luo was using some underhanded tricks. She couldn't win xianxia in terms of ability. At least in terms of looks, she had to win xianxia. If Yi Ching Luo knew what everyone was thinking, she would definitely spit out blood. She would appear in such a way and even rush to the stage at this time. It was completely, because of that shameless beast. Yi Ching Luo stared fiercely at the direction of the elder. Diamo Xian wore Senior Mo's face as he chatted with the elder beside him as he sat down. As though he sensed Yi Ching Luo's gaze. He raised his head and met her eyes. Immediately, her shimmering peach blossom eyes curved into a demonic arc. His obsidian-like eyes shone brightly. His slender fingers gently caressed his rosy lips. Smiling as though he hadn't had enough. Yi Ching Luo's face turned red in an instant. Now, she completely understood that this shameless beast was absolutely not someone she could provoke. She wanted to take advantage of her inconvenience to challenge Diamo Xian's authority. The final result was... Last night, she herself was provoked by Diamo Xian to the point that she didn't want to. In the end, Diamo Xian acted as though nothing had happened as he turned over to sleep. Damn it. This was clearly a deliberate act of revenge, right? She couldn't fall asleep because of the torment last night. With great difficulty he finally managed to fall asleep. This time he almost missed today's match. Taking a deep breath, Yi Ching Luo expressed that she must maintain her composure in such a serious challenge. Student Yi Ching Luo, where are the other students in Devil class? Yun Duan looked around and didn't see any other students. Yi Ching Luo casually combed her hair into a ponytail as she replied, "For today's competition, I'll be fine alone." One person. Has Yi Ching Luo gone mad? I think she's too arrogant and conceited. You think that you can defeat Lu Shuiyu, who is at the 9th grade of the Earth Profound Realm, and you also think that you can easily defeat Xianxia, who is in the class of gods. The class of gods is called the class of gods because the class of gods is a place for godlike people. No matter how powerful Yi Ching Luo is, she's just a mortal. The onlookers and the spectating class were in an uproar. Those who were originally looking at Yi Ching Luo with astonished gazes had all changed. Replacing it was disdain towards Yi Ching Luo's conceit. Even Xianxia, who was standing opposite Yi Ching Luo, also revealed some ridicule because of her words. Her pair of beautiful eyes meaningfully swept past Yi Ching Luo and fell onto the direction of the main courtyard seating. It seemed like she hadn't misjudged him yesterday. Between Yi Ching Luo and Supreme Mo of the main courtyard, there must be some ambiguous relationship. Yesterday Supreme Mo carried Yi Ching Luo intimately as he left. Today the two of them rushed to the West Billow Square at the same time. Only a ghost would believe that there was nothing between them. Under Xianxia's probing gaze, Yi Ching Luo frowned slightly. Somehow she felt that something was being spied on by Xianxia. Just as she was about to ponder deeply, Yun Duan's voice rang beside her ear. You want to challenge student Xianxia alone? Student Yiqing Luo, are you sure? Yiqing Luo regained her senses, her eyes filled with smiles as she nodded towards Yun Duan. Yes, I'm sure. Seeing Yiqing Luo's determined gaze, Yun Duan didn't ask any further. After reporting his arrival, he took his leave. Chapter 1243. Student Yiqing Luo, I really don't know if I should say that you are too confident, or should I say that you are smart. Xianxia's brows revealed a trace of ridicule. Yiqing Luo raised her brows. What do you think? Being able to defeat Lu Shuiyu doesn't mean that your strength has already surpassed the 9th grade of the Earth Profound Realm. In the end, Xianxia suddenly lowered her voice and revealed a meaningful smile on her delicate face. You know very well how you beat Lu Shuiyu. Yiqing Luo blinked her eyes, tilted her head and smiled sweetly. So? The smile on Xianxia's face froze, and a word escaped from between his teeth. She originally thought that after hearing what she said, Yiqing Luo would definitely be flustered. In fact, he would even beg her not to tell the truth about the matter. Unexpectedly, Yiqing Luo was actually so calm. And he didn't take it seriously? Did she really think that I wouldn't dare to expose her relationship with Supreme Mo? Xianxia clenched his fists tightly. He had once been suppressed by Yiqing Luo in King Ling's tomb and now in the arena competition. Because of his looks, he was suppressed by Yiqing Luo once again. This time, she definitely had to get back at him and prove herself. She was absolutely stronger than Yiqing Luo. Xianxia's expression became extremely serious. A dazzling and resplendent profound light broke out from his body. Boundless energy instantly enveloped the entire arena. Because of Yiqing Luo and Lu Shuiyu's match yesterday, the arena stage was severely damaged, and because of the strong profound energy, it almost hurt the spectator seats. Today's barrier was formed by 2 more student elders. The entire arena was a completely different space from the outside world. Thus, the profound energy Xianxia released became extremely strong in this arena. The entire arena shook because of this surge of profound energy. This power, Yiqing Luo was slightly astonished. To be honest, she really did not take Xianxia seriously. Even though they were students of the class of gods, they were still students. Although Xianxia was also the vice captain of the 3rd mercenary group, the Azura group, he was not a match for Xianxia. But to be able to reach the position of vice leader, especially in the rankings, it was a well-known mercenary group. No matter what he did, there would always be someone to do it for him. Even if Xianxia was extremely talented, her actual combat experience was definitely not comparable to hers. In any case, he was someone who had lived 2 lives. However, she really didn't expect. Xianxia's profound rank had actually reached the 7th grade of the Earth Profound Realm. Xianxia was extremely talented, but she was only 17 this year. At such a young age, he had already reached the 7th grade of the Earth Profound Realm. As expected of a student from the class of gods. Rumor has it that it seems to be a green rank profound heart jade. In the entire Nirvana realm, one might not be able to find more than 10 people with a 4th grade profound heart jade. Yiqing Luo wielded the glower flame fan and released a whirlwind, forming a protective film that blocked off the profound qi. She narrowed her eyes and thought carefully about how to deal with Xianxia. Xianxia was at the 7th grade of the Earth Profound Realm while she was at the 4th grade of the Earth Profound Realm. It was 3 grades higher, but the difference was like the distance between heaven and earth. It was equivalent to, she had hit Xianxia. Xianxia would at most be injured. However, if Xianxia's attack landed on her body, even if he didn't die, he would lose half his life. Fighting Xianxia was different from fighting the mysterious person who impersonated Lu Shuiyu. After all, the mysterious man had a guilty conscience and did not dare to reveal his identity. Yiqing Luo grasped that mentality and secretly poisoned him to settle that mysterious man. But Xianxia was different. Chapter 1244. Earth Profound 7th Grade. No wonder she's a student from the class of gods. Earth Profound Realm cultivators are a dime a dozen right now? I heard that the number 1 beauty's profound jade heart is a green grade. Yiqing Luo is also Earth Profound 4th grade, right? With a difference of 3 grades, Yiqing Luo is bound to lose. I remember the headmaster said that the number 1 beauty in the class of gods can only be considered as below average. Oh my god. The middle and lower levels are all Earth Profound 7th grade high-level profound practitioners. Don't tell me, those middle and upper-level students have all become Sky Profound Supremes? The crowd was stunned by Xianxia's profound grade. A 17-year-old Earth Profound 7th grade cultivator, This could be said to be a genius among geniuses. Immediately, the low profound class 2 students were unconvinced. What's 3 grades? Yesterday's high profound class 2 class monitor Lu Shuiyu was an earth profound 9th grade cultivator, but she still lost. Madame Qing Luo will definitely win. She can even defeat an earth profound 9th grade cultivator. Madame Qing Luo will definitely beat the students from the class of gods until they are begging for mercy. The low profound class 2 students had been training with Yi Fengyu recently, which was why they were able to make such rapid progress. And Yi Fengyu said that these training methods were learned from Yi Qing Luo. Moreover, Peach was considered as someone who had a say in the low profound class 2. After all, the 3000 Peach Blossom was a very famous name in the pugilistic world. Peach was also constantly brainwashing the students from the low profound class 2. Therefore, the students from the low profound class 2 had long become the devil's class. Or more accurately, Yi Qing Luo's number 1 escort team. Listening to the quarrel below the stage, xianxia sneered, "That kind of trash, even if they are earth profound 9th grade cultivators, they are only equivalent to our earth profound cultivators in the class of gods. Don't naively think that you can use the same method to deal with Lu Shuiyu against me." Yi Qing Luo raised her eyebrows disapprovingly. "Then why not? Give it a try?" Xianxia pursed her red lips, knowing that there was no way to humiliate Yi Qing Luo with words. On the contrary, she would be angered by Yi Qing Luo. She snorted coldly and didn't say any more nonsense. Her white lotus-like dress fluttered, and a long sword appeared in her hand. The white long sword was dazzling like a graceful swan. It directly attacked towards Yi Qing Luo's face. Yi Qing Luo squinted her eyes slightly, without any intention of evading. In the blink of an eye, the long sword had already closed in. The sword brought with it a terrifying aura, as if it could engulf her in an instant. Madame Qing Luo. What is Yi Qing Luo doing? The low profound class 2 students and the other onlookers suddenly stood up. He couldn't understand why Yi Qing Luo didn't dodge Xianxia's attack. Could it be that he knew he was going to lose so he was too lazy to resist? Just as everyone was in shock, that sword gleam which was nearing Yi Qing Luo suddenly turned into a sword move. In a split second, the long sword split into dozens of swords. Following Xianxia's command, those 10 over swords enlarged in front of Yi Qing Luo's eyes. Phantom sword formation. Someone in the crowd shouted out the name of this sword move. Many swordsmen immediately became excited. Phantom sword formation among the swordsmen wasn't considered as a particularly rare sword move. But most swordsmen could only transform their swords into 10 at most. But Xianxia's sword formation had at least 30 swords. The onlookers couldn't help but sigh. She was indeed a student from the class of gods. Even an ordinary sword move could create such a powerful sword formation. Chapter 1245. Boom boom boom. The raging profound light shattered the arena into pieces. The majestic profound energy surged like a tide. The whole ring was swept by a hurricane in an instant, and the horrible atmosphere pervaded the surroundings. Sister. Yi Fengyu suddenly stood up, which affected the wound on his body. He frowned in pain and took a deep breath, but still stubbornly wanted to rush to the ring. Yi Fengyu, calm down. Dong Huanglang came to the waiting area of the low profound class 2 and stopped Yi Fengyu. My sister is on the ring, how can I calm down? Yi Fengyu's pale face was enduring the severe pain. He struggled to open Dong Huanglang's hand, and his eyes were scarlet. He saw with his own eyes that his sister was covered by that sword array. If those dozens of long swords hit his sister's body. Sister, Yi Fengyu did not dare to think about it, and his eyes were red as he struggled to break free from Dong Huanglang's hand. Dong Huanglang held him tightly, and seeing that he was still not obedient, he simply circled him in his arms. Before he could hold him tightly, Dong Huanglang's collar was suddenly pulled, and he was forced to let go of Yi Fengyu. Following the pull, he stepped back a few steps and fell into a hard embrace. A hand tightly clasped Dong Huanglang's waist. A cold voice sounded in his ear, if he wants to go, let him go. Jing? Dong Huanglang turned his head to look at the indifferent man behind him and frowned. He is injured like this, if he forcibly rushes to the ring he will die. That has nothing to do with you. Qi Jing narrowed his eyes and looked at the boy who was running to the ring. If he wants his sister to lose this match and finally get her profound heart jade dug out by Xuanhuan Liuli, and break her meridians, then let him go. Yi Fengyu's footsteps stopped. His body, which could not even stand steadily, swayed slightly. He mustered all his strength to turn around and look at Qi Jing. The boy's pale face was without any blood. He panted heavily and stared at Qi Yijing for a long time. What do you mean by that? Don't you know Yiqing Luo's strength and character as her brother? Do you think she would do something she's not sure of? Qi Yijing answered Yi Fengyu's question with rare patience. Yi Fengyu was stunned. Seemed like, no. Yiqing Luo would not do anything that she was not sure of. As for what she wanted to do, she would always set up countless plans. For example, a plan to do it. If the plan failed, what was the way out, and so on. She always had a well-organized plan. Since you trust her, just sit here quietly and wait for her. Seeing that Yi Fengyu had calmed down, Qi Yijing grabbed Dong Huanglang's wrist and walked towards the waiting area of low profound class 2. Vaguely, he could still hear Qi Yijing's low voice drifting into his ears with the wind. He said, "Wait for her to return in triumph." On the arena, the terrifying profound qi continued to expand and spread. The smile at the corner of xianxia's mouth became even wider, and the murderous aura that shot out from the depths of his eyes was obscured by the profound light. What super genius? What contract divine artifacts, divine dragons, and a super genius who formed a blood pact with a sacred beast. In the hands of Xianxian, Yiqing Luo was nothing. Thinking of the Ling King's tomb, how Yiqing Luo arrogantly taught the god-slaying group a lesson, how she suppressed her prestige, how the god-slaying group became a joke. Chapter 1246. She was just a bitch who could be loved by thousands of people. What right did she have to receive so much praise and attention? Yiqing Luo actually treated her as a clown? Teasing her? Xianxian sneered as she injected her profound energy into the long sword once again. An increasingly dazzling sword ray was released. The remaining 10 long swords followed her control and formed a circle in mid-air. Swoosh! A piercing sound was heard as those long swords dashed towards the place where the explosion happened earlier. It was obvious that they wanted to put Yiqing Luo to death. The crowd's exclamations stopped. The surrounding students also held their breaths. As for the surrounding elders and masters who were in charge of safety, their expressions had a huge change. If there were any students who lost their lives in the competition, it would have a huge impact on the academy's reputation. Those elders and masters who were in charge of safety immediately rushed into the array barrier in an attempt to stop that sword ray. You overestimate yourself. Her sweet voice was tinged with coldness. In that hurricane, it was clearly transmitted into everyone's ears. Those elders and masters who rushed into the array barrier immediately stopped in their tracks. That voice. It was Yiqing Luo's voice. She wasn't dead. Everyone's vision was concentrated on the arena, searching for Yiqing Luo's traces. The entire West Lawn public square was as though it had been rehearsed in advance. Not a sound could be heard. Just as everyone's hearts were clenched tightly, feeling extremely anxious. They saw the place where the illusory sword array exploded earlier. As the dust dispersed, a slender figure gradually appeared. The red dress in the hurricane was like a blossoming beautiful poppy. She was like a proud and aloof poppy flower standing there elegantly. Her expression was calm and indifferent, like the wind and clouds. It was as if everything around him didn't matter at all. No. It couldn't be said to be of no importance. To put it more accurately, it was a kind of self-confidence which was beyond the comprehension of ordinary people. At this moment, everyone could see with their own eyes. Those 10 illusory swords struck towards Yiqing Luo's face with irresistible force. Those 10 illusory swords were aimed at all her vital points. Yiqing Luo slowly narrowed her eyes as her lips curled into a smirk, revealing a trace of disdain and ridicule. She raised her right hand, and a devouring flame fan that flickered with an enchanting red light suddenly unfurled. A half-arc of red light flashed past. It was just a gentle block. Dozens of illusionary long swords directly blocked the front of the glowing flame fan. The dazzling sword aura clashed with the devouring flame fan. The deathly silence in the square suddenly exploded into an uproar. What's going on? I'm not seeing things, am I? He managed to block the advanced phantom sword formation that can create more than 30 illusionary swords with just his weapon. The phantom sword array has no way to get close to Yiqing Luo. My god, he's too strong. She's after all an earth-profound 7th grade cultivator and she was easily blocked. Yiqing Luo is indeed Yiqing Luo. The gasps of admiration from the surrounding crowd caused Xianxian's expression to turn extremely ugly. Her beautiful eyes were suffused with a cold glint as she stared fiercely at Yiqing Luo, unable to believe that the mirage sword array which she was so proud of was actually blocked by Yiqing Luo. Moreover, he blocked it so easily. He didn't look like he was struggling at all. What Yi Qing Luo said earlier, was she ridiculing her? Ridiculing her for overestimating herself? No. She absolutely could not lose to Yi Qing Luo. This was her only chance. To prove to Nangong Firen that she was stronger than Yi Qing Luo. She absolutely could not lose. Xianxia's eyes were piercingly cold, as though it could condense into ice. Chapter 1247. Tisk, Xianxian, are you a swordsman? Aren't you tired of using the same moves? Or do you have no other ultimate moves? Yi Qing Luo snorted in disdain as her lips curled. Other than transforming a bunch of broken swords, what else can you do? A swordsman is a swordsman. The crowd was stunned. What was Yi Qing Luo saying? She actually insulted Xianxian? No, that wasn't right. This wasn't considered as an insult. Xianxian had indeed been displaying the phantom sword array from the start to the end. Moreover, those who used long swords were indeed called swordsmen, but wasn't Yi Qing Luo a little too arrogant? The phantom sword array could transform into 30 over long swords. Even if she could block the first wave, it didn't mean that she could block the second wave. Very quickly, Yi Qing Luo used her actions to express the disdain in her words. Xianxian condensed and injected an even more powerful profound energy, once again transforming into 10 over long swords. Yi Qing Luo was blocking the first wave of the phantom sword array, so there was no way she could block the second wave in time. But Yi Qing Luo only twitched her lips in disdain as her 5 fingers suddenly tightened the glower flame fan. A powerful profound energy broke through the sky. Immediately, it exploded with a loud bang. The force was majestic and ferocious. All of a sudden, the 30-odd illusory longswords in front of him shattered into pieces. Gradually they formed into a long sword. With a clang, it fell onto the ground. The moment the long sword left her hand, Xianxian's expression was already filled with shock. She held onto her numb wrist as she quickly retreated a few steps, dispelling the thought of picking up the long sword. Xianxian had been regarded as a genius since young. Her innate talent, her beauty, were her greatest wealth. Numerous people bowed to her. Numerous people racked their brains just to make her smile. But today, standing on this stage in front of thousands of people, all her pride had been destroyed. The sword move which she was so proud of was easily blocked by Yi Qing Luo. And the long sword in her hand was shaken off. To a swordsman who used a long sword, this was a great humiliation. She couldn't believe it, and didn't dare to believe it. Yi Qing Luo's ability had actually reached such a stage. He's obviously only a 4th grade Earth Profound Shen practitioner. How could it possibly withstand her attack, which was a 7th grade Earth Profound realm? The rage in Xianxian's chest had already been ignited. She clenched her fists and bit her lower lip. Looking at the sneering Yi Qing Luo, Xianxian didn't hesitate any longer and took out a magic staff from his space pocket. That magic staff was pitch black in color. The surface was outlined with a complex ancient totem, but it was impossible to tell what exactly the totem above it was. The most horrifying thing was that the tip of the staff was a black sphere. It wasn't inlaid with gold or silver, but rather an open eye. It looked like a human eye floating at the top of the staff. When Xianxian saw that pair of eyes, there was a clear fear in them. But she forcibly suppressed the fear in her heart as she gripped her staff tightly and raised her eyes to look at Yi Qing Luo with a sneer. Because you're a student of the devil class, as a member of the class of gods, I'll let you have a few moves. I'm not good at swordsmanship. Xianxian waved the staff in her hand. Seeing that student Yi Qing Luo is treating this competition extremely seriously, I'll also compete with you seriously. Not good at? You're not good at it, but you can actually display the Mirage Sword Formation's high-level ultimate move, creating over 30 long swords. Chapter 1248. Not serious? Earlier wave after wave of sword array was obviously to put Yi Qing Luo to death. You call this not being serious? The onlookers were surprised and suspicious. All of them stared at the staff in Xianxian's hand. The students from the class of gods rarely fought. As the vice-captain of the Death God mercenary group, Xianxian rarely participated in missions. Naturally, no one could be certain what weapon Xianxian was proficient in. This was the first time many of them had seen this staff. Isn't that the Tianling staff? Suddenly, the elder who was sitting beside Diamo Xian stood up and stared at the staff in Xianxian's hands. I'd never thought that the Skymist staff is actually in your hands. Tianling staff? The onlookers were not unfamiliar with this name. This heavenly silk staff was a legendary weapon. Although it was not included in the scope of a divine weapon, the power of the Tianling staff had already far surpassed the power of a legendary grade. That magic staff was rumored to be made from a magical beast's magic crystal. A mana gem was only the size of a finger. Forging a staff would require at least 1,000 mana gems. There was only one magic crystal per magical beast. This was a magic staff that had to be made from over 1,000 magical beasts. Needless to say, one could tell how powerful it was. It's actually the Tianling staff. Yiqing Luo is going to lose for sure. Even if it's the devouring flame fan, I'm afraid it wouldn't be able to withstand a single blow from the Tianling staff. The onlookers were amazed. Yiqing Luo also frowned. Tianling staff. There was no introduction to this staff in his memories. However, from the discussions of the surrounding people, it was very clear that this Tianling staff was not an ordinary item. This was the first time Yiqing Luo saw a cultivator using a staff as a weapon. His heart sank as he frowned. He became even more serious about the upcoming battle. Xianxian's expression softened when he heard the exclamations of the people around him. She arrogantly raised her chin towards Yiqing Luo's direction and gave a cold harumph. "Student Yiqing Luo, I'll let you experience the power of the sky silk staff." He raised the staff in his hand. The huge eye at the top began to blink like a human. Immediately after, a thunderous boom resounded. A bolt of lightning flashed across those blinking eyes. Xianxian sneered and waved his staff towards Yiqing Luo's direction. The electric current made a sizzling sound in the air. If this electric current fell on Yiqing Luo, she would probably be electrocuted into a dried corpse on the spot. Yiqing Luo realized this point. Her expression froze and her pink lips curled into a cold smile. He moved his feet and bent his body. That electric current brushed past Yiqing Luo's shoulder. Yiqing Luo flipped over, and just as she steadied her footing, the second electric current struck again. Yiqing Luo was unhurried as she displayed her footwork and ran back and forth on the stage. The electric current chased after her footsteps. But every single time, it was narrowly avoided by Yiqing Luo. The entire arena was blasted apart by the electric current. The ground was filled with flying stones and dust. But it didn't hurt Yiqing Luo at all. It was so fast that it was like a whirlwind. After attacking for more than 10 times, Xianxian felt that he was like a little puppy being walked by Yiqing Luo. The Tianling staff was indeed very powerful. But using the Tianling staff, her own strength was still a bit too much. Every time she used the power of the Tianling staff, she had to expend a huge amount of profound energy. If this went on for a long time, her profound jade heart would dry up. Xianxian frowned tightly as she stared fiercely at Yiqing Luo's direction. Absolutely could not let her evade again. She gripped the staff tightly and was about to release a stronger electric current. Suddenly, Xianxian felt a murderous intent coming from behind. Chapter 1249. Turning his head back, he saw a red afterimage flashing past his eyes. Her neck felt cold and a faint tingling pain. Xianxian held the Tianling staff and raised it horizontally in front of her. Clang! The dagger drawn by the glower flame fan collided with the Tianling staff. The stirred-up profound chi made both of them take a few steps back. After Xianxian steadied herself, she waved the staff and struck down another bolt of lightning, separating the distance between her and Yiqing Luo. Xianxian's fingers touched her neck and touched the sticky liquid. Her blood. Yiqing Luo had used her footwork to avoid the lightning released by the Tianling staff and was gradually approaching her. If she hadn't reacted fast enough and avoided it, Yiqing Luo's dagger would have directly cut the tendons in her neck. Xianxian squinted her beautiful eyes and wiped the blood on her neck fiercely as a vicious glint flashed past her eyes. That slut actually wanted to kill her in public. Intense hatred and disgust filled her heart. Xianxian gripped the staff tightly and once again condensed profound chi and injected it into the Tianling staff. A ray of black deathly light immediately shrouded the Tianling staff. Then, at the tip of the staff, the eye that looked like a human's eye blinked continuously. The blinking speed was extremely fast. After blinking for a dozen times, that eye suddenly opened wide and fixed its focus in front. In a split second, a ray of black light shot out from that widened eye. Yiqing Luo was shocked by this force. She frowned and stared at the Tianling staff vigilantly. After that collision with the Tianling staff, Yiqing Luo knew that if she used the glower flame fan and the Tianling staff to fight head-on, the glower flame fan would definitely not be the Tianling staff's opponent. It might cause the glower flame fan to break. This Tianling staff was indeed difficult to deal with. Not only could it attack from afar, it could also be used as a close combat weapon, similar to the glower flame fan. Most importantly, the attack of the Tianling staff was obviously much higher than the glower flame fan. Not only her profound grade, it could not match xianxia's. The quality of the glower flame fan could not be compared to the quality of the Tianling staff. She similarly could not get close to attack, nor could she attack from afar. The sneak attack earlier had made xianxian vigilant. It would be very difficult for him to launch another sneak attack. Yiqing Luo, I'd like to see how you're going to hide this time. Xianxian's voice was cold. His words had just ended when he saw the tip of the sky mist staff. One after another black light ball kept on shooting outwards, directly attacking towards Yiqing Luo's direction. One by one, the black balls of light poured out of the magic staff like beans being poured out of a jar. It showed no signs of stopping. Yiqing Luo's brows creased as her feet flashed, speedily evading those black light balls. Just as she steadied herself, she heard Yi Feng Yu's panicked voice from the direction of low profound class 1. Sister! Be careful. What followed were the gasps and gasps of disbelief from the crowd. Yiqing Luo keenly sensed something. He quickly dodged to the right. The black ball of light that she dodged just now brushed past her arm. Yiqing Luo could clearly see that when those black light balls passed by her, they actually made a huge turn in midair and attacked her once again. This black ball of light actually locked onto him automatically. Yiqing Luo's pupils dilated as she silently cursed that this Tianling staff was simply abnormal. He could only dodge the attacks from the balls of light. On the other side, Xianxian had already stopped releasing the black light balls. She tightened her grip on the Tianling staff. Her face was slightly pale as she swayed her body. Her vision swept across the surroundings. The entire arena had already gathered close to 20 over black light balls, one after another, attacking towards Yiqing Luo's direction. Chapter 1250. Xianxian is despicable. A 7th grade Earth Profound practitioner was actually using the Sky Silk Staff to deal with a 4th grade Earth Profound practitioner. Are you that afraid of losing? What number 1 beauty? I think she's obviously jealous of Yiqing Luo's beauty, so she thought of such a vicious method to deal with Yiqing Luo. Bah! What nonsense are you bunch of brainless Yiqing Luo fans spouting? What does being inferior to others have to do with our number 1 beauty? Our number 1 beauty has the Tianling staff, that is also our number 1 beauty's ability. If you have the ability, let Yiqing Luo also get a Tianling staff. The onlookers argued incessantly. Suddenly, a sharp voice joined the discussion. Does Sister Qian need to be jealous of that slut Yiqing Luo's beauty? Can that little slut compare to our xianxia? Sister Qian, what's wrong with using the Tianling staff? Why don't you say that Yiqing Luo that slut's weapon? Isn't it the glower flame fan which the Overlord gave her? Do you think that you can casually control the Tianling staff and release its power? If it wasn't for Sister Qian's profound strength being stable, there was simply no way for her to display the might of the Sky Silk staff. These attacks of the Sky Mist staff are all executed by relying on my Sister Qian's strength. Sentence after sentence of ear-piercing discrimination suppressed Yiqing Luo's brainless fans. Everyone looked over and saw a faction sitting in a corner. There were about 100 people in the faction's area, and they were all wearing the same clothes. There was a metal pin to their chests and the word "kill" was engraved on it. Killing God Mercenary Group's territory. The onlookers immediately understood. Xianxian was the vice group leader of the Death God Mercenary Group, so naturally he would speak up for Yiqing Luo. Executive leader Wei Bei Lai frowned as he stared fixedly at the battle situation on the stage. To be able to force Qian to take out her Sky Silk staff, Yiqing Luo is indeed formidable. What's so great about her? Sister Qian is too lazy to waste time with her, which is why she used the Tianling staff to end the battle quickly. Nangong Lin coldly snorted. Nangong Firen scolded her younger sister in a deep voice. The injuries she had suffered in the tomb of the Ling King had actually not allowed Nangong Lin to learn how to grow. Nangong Lin pursed her lips. Although she looked displeased, she didn't say anything else. Only then did Nangong Firen look at the arena again. His eyes reflected the red figure that was constantly running. In this match, even if Qian takes out the Sky Silk staff, I'm afraid it will be very strenuous. As soon as Nangong Firen's voice fell, Nangong Lin's eyes widened in disbelief. Brother, you mean Sister Qian will lose? Don't you know Sister Qian's strength very well? How could that little bitch beat Sister Qian? Nangong Firen cast a sidelong glance at her with a hint of warning in her eyes. Then she said faintly, "The Tianling staff consumes too much dark force. Miss Ye's reaction speed is extremely fast and she keeps moving out of the Tianling staff's attack range. This is a competition of endurance." Wei Bailey's frown deepened. "Since the last time we met that Miss Yi, how much do you think her strength has increased?" "Even I am no match for her now," Nangong Firen replied seriously. "The last time in Ling Ling King's tomb, their Azura group were tormented by the corpse puppets and king corpses. In the end, only the few of them were left alive. It wasn't because they didn't have enough strength. Otherwise, even they would have died in Ling Ling King's tomb. But under that situation they knew nothing about Ling Ling King's tomb. Unable to display their skills, they could only listen to Yi Qing Luo's arrangements. At that time, although Yi Qing Luo's arrangements were decisive and neat, but in actual fact her profound grade was merely mystic profound 8th grade. She had not expected, in less than a month's time, not only did she leap to earth profound 4th grade profound energy outside Ling King's tomb, she had also integrated it into her own body. Apparently she was doing it with ease. This young lady could really create miracles continuously. The smile on Nangong Firen's lips deepened. Nangong Lin, who was standing by the side, clenched her fists tightly as she pursed her red lips tightly, staring fiercely at Yi Qing Luo on the stage. Damn slut. Chapter 1251. The students who supported Yi Qing Luo as well as the crowd were all very nervous. Those who supported xianxia or hated Yi Qing Luo were also very nervous. The situation on the stage, Yi Qing Luo was obviously battered and in a disadvantageous position. Those 20 over black light balls had completely locked onto Yi Qing Luo. No matter which corner Yi Qing Luo wandered to, those black light balls would chase after her relentlessly. The light balls crashed onto the ground and the entire stage shook. The stage exploded with a loud bang, one after another deep pit, like a black hole. The surprising thing was, those black light balls which crashed onto the ground, or the side of the stage or the enchantment, didn't explode because of this. Those black light balls, after rebounding, once again followed Yi Qing Luo's aura and pressed towards her, totally not giving Yi Qing Luo any chance to take a breather. This situation made the crowd's heart clenched into a bundle of anxiety. Originally when they saw Yi Qing Luo easily blocking xianxia's sword moves, they thought that Yi Qing Luo would win without any suspense. But they didn't expect xianxia to have the Tianling staff, and could even use it to attack Yi Qing Luo. This kind of ups and downs of emotions was really unbearable. Yi Qing Luo displayed her footwork and ran around the stage for a total of 10 rounds. The black light balls were still following closely behind. Every time the light balls were about to land on her, Yi Qing Luo was able to evade them. She spent an entire instance's time with the black light balls. The black light balls didn't leave any marks on Yi Qing Luo's body. Yi Qing Luo squinted her beautiful eyes as her footsteps moved swiftly. The swoosh swoosh sound behind her seemed to be getting closer and closer to her. She didn't look back, paying attention to the distance between the light balls and herself. Instead, she focused her vision on xianxia. While avoiding the light balls, she was observing xianxia's situation. If she didn't guess wrongly, the usage of the Tianling staff required a huge amount of profound energy. Like xianxia using the Tianling staff to cast so many locking light balls, the profound energy in his body should have been depleted. Otherwise, xianxia would definitely not be like this, standing in the middle of the stage, looking at her with a gloomy and vicious look. She who was being chased by the ball of light had no way of fighting xianxia. If she was xianxia, she would definitely not let go of this opportunity. However, xianxia did not move. This also meant that xianxia did not have the ability to attack her now. The corners of Yi Qing Luo's lips curled into a cold arc as her eyes were filled with charm. She moved her 5 fingers, and the glowing flame fan instantly unfolded. A bewitching red light shot out from his palm. She injected her profound energy into the glowing flame fan, and it immediately spun like a flying dagger. With an extremely fast speed, it flew straight towards xianxia. The red light was like a hot knife through butter, as fast as lightning. In the blink of an eye, it had closed in on xianxia. At the same time, Yi Qing Luo's feet took a turn and she directly charged towards xianxia. 2 shadows that looked like burning flames attacked him head-on, bringing with them a terrifying killing intent. Xianxia was so shocked that her face turned pale. Yi Qing Luo. This was already the strongest killing move of the Tianling staff. As long as one light ball hit Yi Qing Luo, Yiqing Luo would die on this stage today. As long as Yiqing Luo didn't fall, these 20 over black light balls would absolutely not stop chasing. Even if Yiqing Luo could hide for a while, she absolutely could not hide forever. Just a little while more, just a little while more, Yiqing Luo would die under the light balls. Chapter 1252. Just as the red light was nearing, Xianxia immediately raised her staff and struck it fiercely. That staff and the glowing fan collided. Two bursts of profound qi intertwined, like streams of airflow, intertwining with each other. The glowing fan maintained its rotation, releasing an oppressive pressure, suppressing the Tianling staff bit by bit. Xianxia only felt that the hand holding the Tianling staff had become numb under the pressure of this rotation. Clang clang, the Tianling staff and the glowing fan contended against each other, once again giving off an ear-piercing collision sound. The black qi of the Tianling staff and the red light of the glowing fan set off a huge air wave, covering the entire arena. Even the surrounding enchantment, because of these two bursts of strong profound qi, kept shaking. Xianxia's face turned paler. Releasing the black light ball earlier had already depleted 2/3 of her profound qi. The remaining energy was not enough to withstand the attack of the glowing fan. The Tianling staff was forced by the tremors of the glowing fan's rotation, as it kept pressing downwards. Her arm was feeling numb, unable to hold on to the Tianling staff. Xianxia knew that once the Tianling staff was forced out of her hands, she would definitely lose this match. The Tianling staff was her last resort. No matter what, she had to hang on before Yiqing Luo was hit by the black light ball. As Xianxia thought about this, the look in his eyes suddenly became fierce. Her other hand held the Tianling staff, gritting her teeth as she surged the last bit of energy in her body. I will let you see the difference between the Tianling staff and the glowing fan. The Tianling staff's body instantly surged out a current of black qi. That black qi instantly swallowed the red light of the glowing fan. That high-speed rotating glowing fan, one round after another, gradually became smaller. Xianxia's lips curled into a complacent smile, as she heaved a sigh of relief and wanted to show off to Yiqing Luo. A few black light balls suddenly flashed past her eyes. Her smile immediately froze on her lips. Her body had reflexively retracted the staff and placed it on her vital point. Bam! It was another sound of weapons clashing, and immediately the profound qi wave on the arena, which had not yet subsided, rolled up once again. Not knowing when Yiqing Luo was already standing in front of Xianxia, the golden hairpin in her hand was piercing towards Xianxia's neck. As for Xianxia, he used his sky silk staff to block the golden hairpin. The golden hairpin was just an ordinary item. Under the black gas of the Tianling staff, it immediately exploded. That golden hairpin, as Xianxia's expression changed drastically, and he raised his hand to touch his hair. Indeed, it was her golden hairpin. Without the golden hairpin holding it in place, Xianxia's long hair fell down. A few of her hair accessories fell to the ground with her intense movements. At the same time, Yiqing Luo's figure suddenly disappeared in front of Xianxia. Yiqing Luo. Xianxia gritted his teeth as he touched his long hair, his eyes filled with intense hatred. Whoosh, something seemed to brush past his cheek. There was a sharp pain. The sound of something tearing through the air brushed past his ears. It was Yiqing Luo's glower flame fan. Earlier he had anxiously used the sky mist staff to block Yiqing Luo's sneak attack. However, he had neglected the glowing flame fan. Xianxia hurriedly raised his sky silk staff, and was about to break the glowing flame fan. Only to see that glowing flame fan revolved around her, and with a whoosh whoosh whoosh, it spun towards the corner of the arena. Right in front of her, those black light balls, because of Yiqing Luo's approach earlier, had all crashed to the side of her feet. Boom boom boom, bam, the arena collapsed, smoke and dust filled the air. The entire arena could no longer be seen clearly. Chapter 1253. Tsk, this Xianxia has reaped what she sowed. Why did she have to use such a disgusting trick? Now it has landed on her. The light ball that she created hit herself. This is the first time I've seen such a situation. That light ball's power is so strong that it can destroy the entire arena. Don't tell me Xianxia was smashed to death by her own light ball? The crowd was discussing in a low voice. Although the voices were soft, but it couldn't be compared to the number of people. The more they spoke, the louder the laughter became. Smoke and dust filled the arena. That light ball didn't explode on Yiqing Luo. One after another, the black light ball was filled with energy as it attacked towards Yiqing Luo's direction. This time Yiqing Luo didn't take any evasive action. She raised her slender wrist up high, and the spinning glowing flame fan landed steadily in her palm. Her fingertips moved and the glower flame fan swept up a hurricane. She faced it head-on and rushed towards those light balls. Blindly evading was not a solution. These balls of light would pursue her relentlessly until they landed on her body. If she chased after this group of black light balls for a long time, even if it was her energy would be depleted. After all, she was a human and not a god. So Yiqing Luo had roughly understood from her probing earlier. These black light balls were chasing after her aura. If she used her profound energy to break these black light balls, the light balls collided with her aura. Yiqing Luo's eyes narrowed as the glower flame fan in her hands danced continuously. The crowd only saw a red figure like lightning, shuttling through 20 over light balls. But moments later, those light balls collided with the profound chi from the glower flame fan, and after a loud explosion, it vanished into thin air. The arena gradually returned to its tranquility. Only the profound energy's airwave swept up the dust on the ground as it filled the arena. Yiqing Luo kept her glower flame fan and slowly looked towards Xianxia's direction. After the dust dispersed, Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased slightly. She saw Xianxia, who was originally engulfed by the black light ball, standing on the same spot. Her face was filled with horror and fear, but there was no sign of injury on her body. The Tianling staff in her hand was flickering, shining with a dark and mysterious black glow. This Tianling staff actually released a spirit formation to protect Xianxia. As expected of a legendary weapon, it even had the consciousness to protect its owner. When he saw Yiqing Luo clearly, Xianxia then realized that he had not exploded into pieces because of the black ball of light. His heart was filled with shock and fear, but at this moment he relaxed. His body began to tremble uncontrollably. When the spectators saw that Xianxia was protected by the sky silk staff, they all fell into a deathly silence. The offensive power of the Tianling staff was beyond their imagination. He did not expect the Tianling staff to have the consciousness to protect its master. To Yiqing Luo this was extremely unfair. Although the rules did not restrict the weapons used by the contestants. However, even if Xianxia won today's match, it would not be glorious. One must know that Yiqing Luo was someone who possessed a divine relic. Until now, Yiqing Luo had not used the power of the divine relic. A legendary weapon was already so heaven-defying. If Yiqing Luo were to use the power of the divine relic, wouldn't it be even more heaven-defying? Qian's sister Qianxian. Below the stage, Nangong Lin stood up and pointed at Xianxia with a trembling finger. Your hair? Hair? Xianxia recalled the sound she heard when the glower flame fan brushed past her cheek. Her face instantly turned pale. Chapter 1254. Nothing at all. There were only a few strands of black hair wrapped around her palm. Her heart suddenly stopped beating and the blood in her body seemed to have solidified. Trembling hands, she touched upwards. Her fine black hair had been cut off and now it was only the length of her ears. It was Yiqing Luo. It was Yiqing Luo who pulled out the golden hairpin that fixed her hair. It was Yiqing Luo who took the opportunity to use the glower flame fan to cut off her hair. Abominable Yiqing Luo. How dare she touch her hair? Xianxia was so angry that her whole body was trembling. Her eyes were red and tears were welling up in her eyes. When had she ever suffered such humiliation? To a woman, hair was more important than her life. Yet it was cut off so easily by Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo. I want to kill you. I want to kill you. Xianxia's eyes were scarlet red as she raised her Tianling staff high and the condensed lightning struck towards Yiqing Luo. The furious Xianxia's lightning was even more violent than before. Yiqing Luo immediately dodged and furrowed her brows while looking at her. Her lips curled into a sneer of ridicule. Student Z, you're really silly using the Tianling staff's ability without restraint. Aren't you afraid that your profound chi will dry up and you'll die? Her words had just ended when Yiqing Luo's footsteps extended and her figure rapidly turned into a red shadow as she approached Xianxia. How could Xianxia listen to Yiqing Luo's words now? Yiqing Luo had ruined the long hair which she was most proud of as a lady, causing her to completely become the joke of the West Continent. How could she still calm down? The staff's attacks were getting fiercer and fiercer. Xianxia's body was also gradually retreating, trying to widen the distance between her and Yiqing Luo. But how could Xianxia's speed compare to Yiqing Luo's? Moreover, Xianxia couldn't catch Yiqing Luo's movements at all. In just a short moment, Yiqing Luo was already behind Xianxia. A cold smile bloomed on her lips. "Your speed is too slow." The cold and bewitching voice made Xianxia's back turn cold as goosebumps appeared all over her body. Immediately after, she felt an ice-cold object pressed against her skin. Xianxia's body stiffened, and he stopped attacking with his Tianling staff. "Do you still want to continue?" Yiqing Luo sneered. I admit. Xianxia seemed to be afraid. Her delicate body slightly trembled, and her hands, which were holding onto the sky silk staff, curled up tightly. Just as he was about to say the word, lose, Xianxia's expression changed abruptly, and he used his elbow to push back. Taking the opportunity when Yiqing Luo was evading, he turned his head around and raised his sky mist scepter, directly striking down fiercely. Yiqing Luo had not expected that Xianxia would take the opportunity to counterattack. Her eyes turned cold and she narrowed her eyes. Her body instinctively took precautions. With a light tap of his feet, he swiftly retreated. The devouring flame fan in his hand opened up, blocking the attack of the Tianling staff. Bye-bye, the sound of weapons colliding rang out and both sides felt their wrists go numb. Crack. There was another explosion. His voice clearly spread throughout the entire West Wave Square. It was the sound of a weapon breaking. The onlookers were in an uproar. They squeezed their way to the arena, wanting to see whose weapon had been broken. The red light and the black chi were tightly intertwined. A lady in red and a lady in white looked at each other, suppressing a strong murderous intent. After Xianxia heard that explosion, the expression on his face instantly turned joyous. Chapter 1255. The glower flame fan was broken. Yiqing Luo's pupils contracted slightly. His eyes reflected the cracked gourd flame fan. Subconsciously, she wanted to keep the glower flame fan. How would Xianxia let her off so easily? Let go of the glower flame fan. You destroyed my most precious hair, I will also destroy your most precious weapon. Xianxia gritted her teeth sinisterly, as she injected all her profound energy into the Tianling staff. Black chi appeared. Crack. The strong pressure from the Tianling staff directly broke the glower flame fan. The enchanting glower flame fan broke into two. The entire West Lake Square was silent. The crowd's vision was fixed on the both of them. The sound of the glower flame fan falling onto the stage was exceptionally clear. Yiqing Luo, go to hell. Xianxia's beautiful eyes turned cold as she arrogantly raised her chin, as her lips curled into a complacent smile. She raised the Tianling staff up high, as she sent the last burst of profound chi towards Yiqing Luo's head. Bam! A loud sound was heard as a petite figure was flung into the air. A staff suffused with black chi as it tumbled a few times in the air as it landed on the ground. A petite figure fell heavily on the side of the staff. That's right, on the ground. On the ground outside the stage. Was Yiqing Luo. The moment Xianxia held the Tianling staff tightly and smashed it towards her, Yiqing Luo's eyes flashed coldly. She raised her leg and directly kicked Xianxia's abdomen. Xianxia. Vice Group Leader. A group of people from the Death God mercenary group immediately stood up, as they rushed towards Xianxia's direction. Nangong Lin helped Xianxia up as she was so distressed that she was about to cry. Sister Xianxia, are you alright? Are you alright? Xianxia was still in a daze. Her internal organs were in extreme pain, as though they were about to be torn apart. Nangong Lin saw Xianxia's pale face as she stared furiously at Yiqing Luo as she scolded, Yiqing Luo, you slut. It's just a competition, is there a need to be so ruthless? If it wasn't for my sister Xianxia's power, she would have been killed by you on the stage. In the arena, the girl who stood alone in the same spot with her head lowered was silent. The surrounding waves of air swirled around her hair, but they couldn't sweep away the icy aura around her body. Don't think that just because you beat my big sister Xianxia secretly, you've really won. Just you wait. Seeing that she didn't speak, Nangong Lin's mouth was even more unforgiving. Nangong Firen grabbed his wrist tightly. Nangong Firen was about to tell Nangong Lin to shut up. All of a sudden, a cold gaze swept over. It actually caused them to feel cold air invading their bodies, a chill rising up from the bottom of their feet. His gaze was as cold as a sharp knife, filled with killing intent. He did not conceal his killing intent at all. Even the onlookers who were used to seeing killing, couldn't help but shudder when they saw this gaze. You. Nangong Lin was so scared that her legs went soft and she fell to the ground. A pair of stubborn eyes filled with disgust stared fiercely at Yiqing Luo. After a long while he finally found his voice. "What do you want to do? This is the venue of the interclass competition, what do you want to do to us?" Yiqing Luo laughed softly. That laughter was ethereal and pleasing to the ears. But it was mixed with an eerie chill as though it was a voice from hell. The smile at the corner of her lips was so beautiful that it could topple cities. Xianxia, a student from the class of gods, Death God Mercenary Group's vice group leader, Sky Profound 7th grade cultivator. Chapter 1256. In the interclass competition you used the Tianling staff, but you were still unable to defeat me, a 4th grade Earth Profound practitioner who only used the devouring flame fan. Yiqing Luo tilted her head and smiled coldly. Xianxia, you've really thrown the face of the class of gods. You. Cough 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 cough. Xianxia was unable to restrain his anger as he propped himself up and pointed at Yiqing Luo with the intention to retaliate. Her body was in so much pain that she couldn't make such an intense move. Yiqing Luo smiled and her smile became even more joyful. Why? Not satisfied? If you're not convinced, then you'd better hold it in too. She then looked at Elder Yun Duan. Elder Yun Duan, please announce the results of the competition. Yun Duan, who was completely stunned by the sudden change in the arena, only reacted after Yiqing Luo's reminder. He coughed dryly. This year's interclass competition has ended successfully. Devil Classes student Yiqing Luo has challenged the overseeing main God Classes student Xianxia. Student Xianxia has fallen out of the arena stage and has been eliminated. Devil Class students have obtained the final victory. No. Xianxia's body trembled as she stretched out her arms towards the clouds. However, her attempts to stop him were futile. She could only watch with her own eyes as the vice president of the main courtyard passed the medal which represented the ultimate champion to Yiqing Luo's hands. Xianxia could even clearly see. The moment Yiqing Luo received the medal, she shot a glance at her. Ridicule, ridicule. There was also a look of mockery. The rage in Xianxia's chest grew more and more vigorous. He forced out a mouthful of blood from his heart. Nangong Lin screamed in panic, and the doctor in the medical hall immediately carried Xianxia away. Before long, the area below the arena regained its tranquility. The crowd looked at Yiqing Luo. She let Xianxia leave just like that? Could it be that breaking the gourd flame fan didn't matter? How could she still smile? Yifeng, had the same thought. How important was the glower flame fan to Yiqing Luo? Yifeng was well aware of this. But now the glowing flame fan had actually been broken. But Big Sister let Xianxia go. Just as everyone was extremely puzzled, simply unable to see through Yiqing Luo's thoughts. Just as the vice president of the main courtyard was talking loudly, praising Yiqing Luo to the point that she was unrivaled in the heavens. Yiqing Luo squatted down without a word and picked up a broken glower flame fan. Just now, it was broken by the attack of the Tianling staff, and the gourd flame fan was broken into 2 pieces. One was by his feet, and the other had been swept away by the shockwave. Due to the previous duel, the entire arena was littered with rubble and rocks. As far as the eye could see, there was no trace of the glowing flame fan. After the glower flame fan was broken, the spiritual chi on it also disappeared at that moment and the connection with Yiqing Luo was also cut off. Yiqing Luo used her bare hands to break apart the pieces of stone and found the other section of the glower flame fan. The main courtyard's vice president wasn't infuriated by Yiqing Luo's rudeness. Instead he looked at the young lady who was squatting by his feet, rummaging through the stones in admiration. He didn't say anything to stop them, nor did he ask the others to help. He calmly announced the end of the competition and returned to his seat. The competition had ended and the spectators should have left. However, not a single person moved their feet. They all looked at the young lady who was constantly rummaging through the arena. That slender little hand was as fair as congealed fat, so delicate that it would turn red if she pinched it. But she kept on rummaging through those stones which were branded on her hands. The sharp stones pricked her hand and fresh blood flowed out, but she didn't care about it at all. Everyone knew what she was looking for, her exclusive weapon. Chapter 1257. In the hearts of the crowd, there was a surge of surging tide, driving them to do something. But they didn't move. They were all cultivators and had their own weapons. They understood Yiqing Luo's feelings very well. Breaking a cultivator's life weapon was equivalent to breaking the cultivator's life. Her own life weapon was broken in her own hands. As the owner of her life weapon, she wanted to find her own weapon, not to rely on anyone. The onlookers recalled Nangong Lin's words just now. In their hearts, they started to feel disgusted with xianxia, the #1 beauty in the Heavenly Academy's class of God. It was just a competition. Xianxia had been overbearing and even used the Tianling staff to defeat Yiqing Luo. Even breaking Yiqing Luo's life weapon. The one who went overboard, it was Xianxia. The crowd looked at her as she rummaged through the stones. Her fair hands were stained with blood and their eyes were filled with admiration. Even those who didn't have a good impression of Yiqing Luo had a feeling of empathy, and the way they looked at Yiqing Luo became much gentler. All these, Yiqing Luo had no time to care and didn't want to bother. Her eyes were red as she rummaged through every corner of the stones. The profound chi in her hands slapped away the broken stones, not letting go of any gap. Glower flame fan. She had always thought that the glower flame fan was protecting her. But it was broken in her hands. Yiqing Luo pursed her lips tightly and increased the speed of her hands. One hand was about to flip the stone in front of her. Before she could reach over, a pair of long slender legs appeared in front of her eyes, slightly dazzling. Yiqing Luo looked up blankly and met with a pair of angry peach blossom eyes. He stretched out a hand towards her, his handsome face was gloomy. "Get up." Yiqing Luo's voice stopped abruptly before she could say the word, profound. Both her hands were covered by 2 warm palms. Her body felt light and she was forcefully pulled up. "So sorry?" Yiqing Luo lowered her eyes were slightly moist. The man's hand gently touched the wound on her hand, bringing a cool touch. The pain gradually disappeared from the places that he had touched. "Do you know what you did wrong?" He lowered his voice, which was deep and magnetic. Yiqing Luo's eyelids drooped even lower as she bit her lower lip lightly. "I didn't take good care of the glower flame fan, that's your fault." "Wrong," the man interrupted her and said coldly. "Come back with me." This was the first time Dmo Xian had used such a tone and expression to talk to her. Yiqing Luo's eyes reddened as an indescribable feeling of tears welling up in her eyes. She was not a woman who liked to cry. To be more precise, she never shed a single tear. Even if it was hard and tiring, even if they were facing death, she would never cry. Tears were the symbol of the weak. But, at this moment when the glowing flame fan was broken, her heart instantly felt empty. That feeling of emptiness made her feel complicated. And Dmo Xian's attitude made the complicated feelings in her heart magnified even more. Suddenly he had an urge to cry. Dmo Xian quietly stared at Yiqing Luo for some time. Although Yiqing Luo's head was lowered, but that hair which was blown by the wind revealed that pair of reddened eyes. His heart felt as if it was stabbed by a needle. Suddenly something softened. Chapter 1258. Yiqing Luo then reacted. They were still on the stage and there were thousands of pairs of eyes watching her. The current Dmo Xian was Supreme Imo. Just now she had almost called out his name in front of everyone. She restrained the emotions in her eyes and looked at Dmo Xian. "I'll look for you later, I want to find the glower flame fan." Saying that, she lowered her eyes and stared at the half of the glower flame fan in her hand. Her voice was very soft. "If I can't find the other part of the glower flame fan, I can't be at ease." The glower flame fan that had protected her and accompanied her for such a long time. Even if the glower flame fan was broken, she had to keep the glower flame fan by her side. Dmo Xian didn't speak for a long time. Yiqing Luo pursed her pink lips, her emotions were complicated. But she still stubbornly didn't give up her decision. After some time, Dmo Xian raised his hand and flicked Yiqing Luo's forehead. "Aren't you looking for it? Why are you still in a daze?" Yiqing Luo suddenly raised her head and her lips curled into a smile. "N." She squatted down and was about to continue rummaging through the stones. But her wrist was grabbed by Dmo Xian again. His gaze glanced at her hands, his voice was slightly cold. "Trying to make me angry?" Yiqing Luo was stunned, her long curly lashes fluttered lightly. Suddenly the smile on her lips deepened. She didn't say a word, only smiling and shaking her head. So, Dmo Xian was angry not because she broke the glower flame fan, but because she let herself get hurt in front of him. So he disregarded his status as Supreme Imo and rushed to the stage to stop her self-harm, and took the opportunity to apply ointment on his palm. This man. No matter when, he was able to make her heart beat faster. She was afraid that she would really fall into his hands for the rest of her life. Seeing that Yiqing Luo really didn't intend to use her bare hands to flip the stones, Diamo Xian then restrained the gloomy expression on his face. He let go of Yiqing Luo's wrist and waved his sleeve. A majestic profound energy swept up a hurricane, turning the rubble of the entire arena into a tornado. In that floating gravel, Yiqing Luo saw an indistinct red glow. Her eyes lit up as she tugged Diamo Xian's sleeve. After their eyes met, she leaped toward the red light. At the same time, Diamo Xian slowed down the release of his profound energy and the strength of the hurricane subsequently reduced. Yiqing Luo got closer to that red light and as expected, it was that half of the glower flame fan. She extended her hand and held the glowing flame fan in her palm. Following that, she turned around and returned to Diamo Xian's side. Logically speaking, Diamo Xian's majestic dark force was so powerful that even the masters and elders present would feel pressured if they were to approach him. How would an ordinary student dare to go near the hurricane that was stirred up by the profound energy? However, the cooperation between the two of them seemed to have been through a long period of training. Diamo Xian's control over his strength was not the slightest bit off. Yiqing Luo's approaching distance and the timing of her stretching out her hand to grab the glower flame fan were exactly the same. Everyone looked at the two of them with a hint of ambiguity and suspicion. "Let's go." Diamo Xian's gaze swept across the surroundings as he spoke indifferently. Yiqing Luo replied softly and followed behind Diamo Xian as the both of them walked down the stage. The onlookers were still staring at them suspiciously. Were they not going to explain? Wasn't he going to explain himself? Could it be that they had tacitly agreed to it? But these two obviously had no intention to explain. One in front and one behind, they directly walked past the high profound Class 2's waiting area. Chapter 1259. Yiqing Luo's footsteps halted as her heart suddenly stopped. She subconsciously turned her head to look at the vice president. Not knowing when, the vice president was already standing behind her as a pair of sharp eyes wandered between her and Diamo Xian. "Senior Imo, you're the elder of the headquarters. Do you know? Your every action represents the actions of the headquarters." Diamo Xian's actions had already made the crowd speculate. If Diamo Xian was an old man with white hair and brows, the crowd wouldn't let their imagination run wild. But unfortunately, Diamo Xian was a young man and he was so good-looking that he was ranked third in the West Continent's handsome man chart. For such a young and handsome man to take care of such a young and beautiful girl, it was unimaginable. How could it not cause a misunderstanding? The vice president of the headquarters didn't hate Yiqing Luo, but that didn't mean that he could accept an elder of the headquarters having an ambiguous relationship with a student. This would affect the image of the headquarters. Vice President. Diamo Xian glanced at the vice president indifferently before his vision shifted to Yiqing Luo as he smiled elegantly. "She is my proudest student." The crowd nodded as though they were enlightened. They had also heard that the elders sent to the Heavenly Academy were directly chosen to teach in the Devil class. With the guidance of the elders from the headquarters, it was no wonder that Yiqing Luo improved so quickly. Yiqing Luo's innate talent was so strong. If they were Yiqing Luo's teachers, they would also be willing to be so gentle to her. Thinking in this way, the crowd calmed down. Earlier when they saw Senior Mo and Yiqing Luo, it was so intimate. Now looking at Senior Mo and Yiqing Luo again, they only felt that their teacher and student relationship was extremely strong. The vice president took a look at the both of them and didn't continue asking. He only waved his hand and said calmly, "Bring her to the medical hall and bandage her wound. Tonight we will return to the Heavenly Academy, and after resting for 2 days, we will select 10 students from the Devil class to report to the class of gods." This was the reward for defeating the overseer. 10 students could be chosen from the class that won first place to study in the class of gods for a month. Yiqing Luo thanked the vice president. Without exchanging any conventional greetings, she bid farewell and left. West Continent Public Square Town, Restaurant Private Room. The table was filled with delicacies, but no one touched it. Yiqing Luo lowered her head as she looked at the broken glower flame fan in her palm, not in the mood to eat. "Little Luo, eat something first." Diamo Xian saw her absent-minded look and snatched the gourd flame fan from her hands, putting it aside. "Today's match has exhausted so much energy. If you don't eat something, your body won't be able to take it." Yiqing Luo shook her head, her delicate fists tightly curled up. "I have no appetite." Seeing this section of the gourd flame fan on the dining table, Yiqing Luo's heart was getting more and more vexed. Her mind recalled the scene when Diamo Xian passed the glower flame fan to her. His long and narrow eyes were curved, and his smile was devilishly charming. He said, "This is a betrothal gift for her." Today she had broken the betrothal gift that Dmo Xian had personally given to her into two. Dmo Xian remained silent for a moment as he adjusted his sitting posture and turned around to look at Yiqing Luo. His slender hand held her small hand. The other hand lifted her lower jaw, forcing her gaze to meet his. "In the end, why did you let xianxia off?" Dmo Xian gently caressed her skin as he asked in a warm voice. Yiqing Luo was stunned, her eyelashes were like butterfly wings, long and thick, but it was unable to conceal the glint of hatred in her eyes. Chapter 1260. The Vengeful Her. How could she let off xianxia who destroyed the glower flame fan so easily? But at that time Yiqing Luo did not take any extreme actions. She even allowed xianxia to be carried away by the doctor in the medical hall to receive treatment. Yiqing Luo slowly lowered her gaze. Her eyes squinted, revealing a strong murderous intent. "That is the competition venue. If I kill her on the spot, not only will I implicate myself but also the entire devil class and the world mercenary group." The current devil class and the world mercenary group. Although their reputations had spread far and wide. Speaking of which, she was the only one who was able to intimidate everyone with her strength. Once she dismembered xianxia on the spot. Not only the Z family would not let her off. Even the academy would not be able to account for it. Devil classes students needed a place like the academy to learn and grow. She could not implicate the devil class and implicate everyone for her own selfish desires. She could not take revenge on the spot, but she would use her own methods to let xianxia live. More painful than death. What xianxia was proud of was just her title as a student in the class of gods. Was just her reputation as the #1 beauty. Was just her Skymas staff's power. Then she would destroy what xianxia was proud of bit by bit. This match, xianxia's loss, was just the beginning. She would make xianxia become the joke of the entire West continent, and even the entire Nirvana realm. Yiqing Luo's gaze gradually fell onto the broken glower flame fan. Her slender fingers gently caressed the fan handle as her brows turned soft. Moreover, the glower flame fan did not hesitate to sacrifice itself in order to protect my victory. I don't want the glower flame fan to sacrifice itself in vain. Yes, in order to protect you, the glower flame fan sacrificed itself. Dmo Xian's warm palm had already floated onto her hair. His large palm fixed the back of her head. He said in a low voice, "So, all the more for the glower flame fan, at least don't let yourself fall." Yiqing Luo raised her eyes in a daze, looking at Dmo Xian's peerless face. That pair of glistening, gentle peach blossom eyes seemed to sink into the heart of a warm current. Furthermore, Dmo Xian dragged out the last syllable, his long and narrow eyes outlined a demonic curve. "Who told you that once the glower flame fan is broken, it is completely broken?" In Yiqing Luo's mind, there seemed to be a white light that suddenly exploded. Her charming eyes lit up as she speedily grabbed Dmo Xian's wrist. What did you just say?" The devouring flame fan was broken, but was it not completely broken? In other words, Dmo Xian had a way to restore the glower flame fan? Before I answer your question, you have to answer mine seriously first. Dmo Xian's eyes gleamed slightly, his 5 fingers suddenly exerted strength and pulled Yiqing Luo into his embrace. Her face was pressed against his chest. The scorching heat also scalded her face. Yiqing Luo's little hand clutched tightly onto the lapel in front of his chest as she replied anxiously, "Ask, I will answer seriously." Dmo Xian's attitude meant that he definitely had a way to reconstruct the glower flame fan. "Why do you care so much about the ghastly flame fan?" A low and hoarse voice, like mellow wine, lingered beside his eardrums. Yiqing Luo suddenly felt her whole body go limp. Her little hand instinctively clutched his lapel even tighter. Dmo Xian's voice was even lower, the slightly raised ending syllable, once again made Yiqing Luo's body go limp. Chapter 1261. Just because of this? Dmo Xian raised his eyebrows as he teased. Yiqing Luo was stunned as she loosened her grip on his clothes. She understood the meaning behind Dmo Xian's question. Her face flushed red instantly. "If you don't answer seriously, you won't get the answer to the question you want to know." Dmo Xian gave a low laugh. This girl was so adorable that he couldn't wait to rub her into his body. Yiqing Luo buried her head in his arms and dawdled for a long time. After a long time, she muttered in a low voice, She couldn't understand what she was talking about. Dmo Xian didn't intend to let her fool him. His slender fingers lifted Yiqing Luo's chin in a domineering and overbearing manner. Under the reflection of her pupils, her rosy red lips curled into a devilish smile. "I can't hear you." A low husky magnetic male voice knocked into her eardrum. The warm breath fell on her skin and made her feel ticklish. Yiqing Luo blushed furiously as she stared at Dmo Xian angrily. She exerted force and sat on Dmo Xian's body. Her little hand propped on his chest as she put on a fierce look like a queen and said fiendishly, "The glower flame fan is the gift you gave me. You said it was a betrothal gift." After that, she stared at the man's rising arc and gritted her teeth as she lowered her head and bit hard on his lips, growling angrily, "Are you satisfied now?" "Yes." Dmo Xian was in pain as he held her slender waist tightly with one hand and stroked his lips which were bitten. He couldn't help but chuckle. "Little wild cat," Yiqing Luo snorted coldly, "you deserve to be bitten to death. What a shameless beast. Flirting with her at the slightest disagreement. And it was the kind of flirting that made her blush. Biting him was already considered as her mouth being merciful. Dmo Xian saw her blushing face and knew that if he continued to tease her, the little wild cat would explode. He restrained his teasing thoughts and said gently, "Satisfied, satisfied, little wild cat makes me so satisfied, so I decided to tell you the method to restore the glower flame fan." When Yiqing Luo heard that, her expression immediately turned serious as she looked at him solemnly, waiting for his answer. Dmo Xian held her little hand, brought it to his lips and gently kissed it, whispering, "Do you still remember the attributes of the glower flame fan?" "Attributes?" Yiqing Luo recalled everything in her mind. It seemed like, when Dmo Xian gave her the glower flame fan, Old Man Song had said, "The ghastly flame fan is an attribute that can grow." There was only one ghastly flame fan in the world, and it was not as precious as the Tianling staff. It was not a legendary weapon. However, what made people envious was the glowing flame fan's ability to grow. The glowing flame fan could be upgraded according to the user's abilities. Growth attribute. What does it have to do with repairing the broken glower flame fan? Yiqing Luo asked in puzzlement. Dmo Xian pinched her forehead lightly, because it is an attribute that can grow. The breaking of the ghastly flame fan to the ghastly flame fan is not destruction but a new beginning. The more Yiqing Luo listened, the more confused she became. Seeing Yiqing Luo's bewildered look, Dmo Xian sighed and changed his way of explaining, "Before the ghastly flame fan broke, although it was used by you, but to the ghastly flame fan, you are not its real owner. The ghastly flame fan can be restored, but I need something from you." Hearing this, Yiqing Luo linked the words before and after, and immediately understood the meaning behind Dmo Xian's words. You're tuning in to the Sword Dance in the Vast Sky YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.